I will speak loudly. Shocker. Um, Hi, Delaware. My name is Dan Ritter. I'm the team leader of the Best Philly Homes team at KW Power in Center City, Philadelphia, and the surrounding areas there. And we are getting ready to also venture to New Jersey. So might need a new name, but we'll see. Best Philly Homes in New Jersey. Um, but today, leadership asked me to come in and teach a class with y'all, one that's really near and dear to my heart, and that is the Miracle Morning Mindset. Mindset's a big one for me. I'm sort of a perpetual cheerleader, and so a lot of that starts with how I start my day. And so I'm going to kind of take you through a couple of different practices, both the Miracle Morning and the W137, which is something my MAPS coach has worked with me on as well. And so I want to kind of give that out as well because it's a really useful. Can y'all hear me? Am I being loud enough? Yay, nay, wave. Okay, wait. I'm here. We'll see. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Yasmin. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here, Yasmin. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
So Miracle Morning is a practice that is very easy to apply to your daily schedule, but not necessarily easy to start for a lot of people. I was saying this morning at Win that I am not a morning person. I do have an excess of energy. This is me without caffeine, so you can imagine with caffeine, it's a lot, and I know it's a lot, so I try to keep it contained when I can. But the Miracle Morning has really changed my not just my business, but just the way in which I navigate the world on a day-to-day basis. Not to like put too much onto it as being the thing, but it is a really helpful practice. So the Miracle Morning is an intentional morning routine. Who here has a morning routine that you're intentional with? Wonderful. We're going to break down the pieces of this particular morning routine. I always encourage folks who take this class to give it a try. Take a week and see if it works for you or not. And if it doesn't, cool. That's also one of my big messages. You got to work with what works for you. So the Miracle Morning may not be for everyone, but it's absolutely worth getting a try. As someone who does not like mornings, who does not like waking up, who is not a pleasant person until I've had some tea, it has been essential for me to be able to interact with clients, other agents, and just the other people in my life in the mornings in a way that I did not have access to before. So we're going to dig right into it. The Miracle Morning has a six parts to it, and a handy little acronym to help you remember all the parts. So the word that we're using is savers. 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 So the first part of that is silence. S. Silence, taking some time first thing when you wake up to just sit and be still. Some folks who come from a faith background of some kind may use that for devotional or for prayer. Other folks use it for quiet meditation. For me, I kind of a mixture of all those, depending on the morning. I will wake up and sometimes I just need to sit there in silence for a second and just let myself exist for a minute or two before I jump into the rest of the process. It's really intended to be a reset. So you've woken up, you've maybe brushed your teeth, maybe had some water, made some coffee or tea or something. That moment of silence gives you just kind of that stop point to recognize the beginning of the practice. After your silence, we get to affirmations. Affirmations are a big one. This is something that a lot of people struggle with because we don't really know what an affirmation is. I brought a few of the ones that I am doing right now, just to kind of give an example of what we mean when we say affirmations. Affirmations are statements that are present and affirming, which seems kind of, like that makes sense, affirming affirmations. But what do we mean by that? So it's not going to be I hope for this, or I wish I was doing that, or it'd be neat if this were a thing. You're in many ways trying to be prophetic about your future in your affirmation. So even if it's not true about yourself right now, it's something you want to be true. It's something we're working toward making a reality for yourself. Hello, hello. So for example, a couple of the ones that I have right now are, I am courageous. I'm willing to act in spite of my fear. I have everything within me to achieve the goals that I have. The belief in my possibilities is enough reason for me to take action. I will make tomorrow better because of what I learned today. These are things that I don't necessarily feel every day, being completely honest. One of the ones I have that may resonate with some folks is I wake up energized and ready to face the day. Not true every single day. That is not necessarily a thing that I'm like jumping out of bed. I could face the day. But by making it an affirmation for myself, what I'm doing is I'm setting myself up to have it be a true statement about myself. I'm believing into the possibility that I will wake up one day and feel ready to face my day. Now, the beauty is by the time I finish the miracle morning, all the steps, which we will get to all of them, I actually do kind of feel like that. I do feel ready to face the day. And so I'm affirming it before I believe it, but at some point it becomes true. We often say the fake it till you make it, which is only applicable in some things, not applicable for everything. You cannot fake everything until you make it. But with your affirmations, you really are trying to fake it until you make it. You're trying to believe things about yourself that may not be true yet. And it gives you this ability to kind of check in with yourself. Now, your affirmations we do in the morning, I encourage you to revisit them throughout the day, which is why I say get a journal of some kind to write your affirmations into each day, because it gives you a reference point. You can always refer back to what they are. Mine stay the same for months at a time. I'll update them every once in a while, but I'm going to keep them pretty consistent until I feel like I'm really living that affirmation. That's not a hand.
I did. This may be getting too deep.
No,
and you can.
I love
totally leave. I think when it comes to affirmations, how did you mentally come to right, these are my affirmations?
Great question.
Or if you see something, you're like, oh my God, that's great. I'm gonna add it into my. So is that kind of like?
Yeah. So I honestly, one of the easiest things to do is just to look up online morning affirmations. There's lists of hundreds of them. And I actually have a book that has like 10,000 of them that I use now to go through, but just jumping
it
online.
Makes me feel better that you said it.
I
think, because there's no way I came up with that stuff.
Likelihood of you coming up with your own, if you do, that's amazing. I have literally never done that. So, yeah.
There's an app that you can download on your phone and it pops up as a notification.
Yeah. I generally recommend 5 to 10 affirmations, not just one or two, because you want to have multiple things. Like we're big thinkers, we're bold, if you will. Like we can handle it. We can handle having multiple.
Like something like maybe family oriented.
Yeah.
Something that's like business.
Yes. Cool. For example, one of the other ones I have on here, what is for me will not pass over me. That's not necessarily just business. Yeah. They're not just business affirmations. You're looking at your miracle morning is not just about your business. That's one of the big things. It may impact positively your business, but it's really about the overall impact on the entirety of yourself.
That's one I use to piggyback. So there's the app, and then audible.com has real estate affirmations or affirmations for real estate agents. And like you said, they're not just for real estate agents.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you could just play them.
Absolutely. They're great to have. I love, first of all, Audible is like everything. So yes, all about that.
So do yours specifically, I guess, and collectively, do you try to do affirmations that just affect you personally or also affect those around you?
Great question. There may be benefits to other people for the affirmations, but your miracle morning time is selfish. It's for you. We give so much of ourselves to other people throughout the day, and that's one of the reasons we love what we do, is that we are giving and giving and giving of ourselves, but you cannot pour out of an empty cup. So your morning time is a time for you. It is selfish. At one point, my husband was like, "Oh, I should start getting up with you and doing a mirror." I'm like, "No, sorry, that's my time. This is for me." It means that when I finish it, yeah, seriously, it's like I interact with people, my husband, my clients, other realtors, people. I interact with other people all the time, and I'm an extrovert. Shocker. Like it's not like that's draining for me, but having this moment that is selfish, that is mine, that is protected. It's for me. It's to encourage myself. It's to give myself energy. So yes, sometimes they're going to be applicable. Like you may have things about how you are affirming what you do with your family or what you want for your family. That still impacts you. So that is absolutely legitimate. But again, you really want to try to hone in on this time as being specifically for you.
You have permission to be self-centered.
Yeah, it is a time, exactly. Which is, again, especially for realtors, it's hard because we do give so much and we spend so much time thinking about other people. This is a really intentional time for yourself. And one of the things I have found over the years that I've been doing this is by making that time intentional and having that intentionality, I do actually have more of myself to give to other people throughout the day. And I don't feel at the end of the day as completely worn down and empty as I used to because I have had dedicated time for that. Now, for me, we'll get into some more of these parts in a second, but for me, the miracle morning is a 5 a.m. wake up, which was the hardest thing for me. That is not in my DNA. My dad and my sister wake up and sing to the sun. Always have. They could get up at 4 and they're ready to go. My mom and I are like, no. If the sun's not out, I'm not out. So 5 a.m. was really, really tough for me. But what I found is I could spend 2 or even 3 hours doing the entirety of the miracle morning. And that's 2 or 3 hours that I've had for me at the beginning of my day. And that means when I walk out the door, I don't really have any excuses about, well, I haven't spent enough time on myself today. It's like, no, I'm prioritizing myself at the top of every day to open up space for me to help other people throughout the rest of the day. But the 5 a.m. wake up is really, really tough. It's definitely pretty cool.
Do you get pushback from your husband over that?
No. He maybe will wake up when my alarm goes off, but most of the time not. It's like sleep straight through it. Would that I could. I wish I was that heavy of a sleeper. But here's the other thing about that. If you have a partner or spouse, someone that you share a bedroom with, and they give pushback on that 5 o'clock alarm, sorry. Exactly. Adapt. That is just, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that's like, you have to, the way you can explain it is by saying this little sacrifice is going to give you a better version of me the rest of the day by doing this. Now, hear me say this. Oh, yes. Yasmin, you had a question?
Yes. So, no, not a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, what you were saying, that's one of my affirmations that I use, and I even use it in business. I tell my clients that because I have a lot of buyer clients. I tell them all the time, what's meant for you will not pass you. And
Absolutely.
that just soothes them because in business, they get so antsy and so stuck on the home, and especially in the market in Delaware is completely different.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes you have multiple offers, and I'm like, what's meant for you will not pass you. So
Yeah.
I definitely use that in my business and my everyday life. And that's just one of my mantras. Like, what's meant for you will not pass you. What's meant for you will not pass you.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I love that one.
And think about that as agents too, because we don't get every deal that we offer. We don't get every client that we interview. Like, these things happen, and it can be really challenging psychologically. I know for me, I mean, I've been doing this for 7, 8 years now. Very grateful for the growth of my business. I remember years 1, 2, and 3 were not a walk in the park. They were not instantly getting every client that I had a lot of missed opportunities. But this idea, if your affirmations are things like, what is meant for me will not pass over me, things like this, if you get that in your mind, when those things happen and you lose out, it doesn't hurt as bad. Like, it still hurts. It will not negate the challenges of that, but it does help when you face those things because you have in your toolbox ways to get through that now because you're reinforcing it on a daily basis. I'm going to go back to 5 a.m. real quick. If 5 a.m. is not your thing and you try it and you're like, I just cannot do 5 a.m., that's okay. If 6 a.m. works better for your lifestyle and the way that you need to sleep and your patterns, do 6 a.m. If 7 a.m. is better for your lifestyle, and this is not what the book Miracle Morning says, it's very like 5 a.m., but in practice, you have to adapt it to your life. It has to work for you and not against you. And yeah, exactly. Or it's not going to become a practice. We were talking this morning. Tell me your name again. I'm sorry. Jim. About how different seasons of the year, different seasons of life may mean that 5 a.m. doesn't actually make sense. We were talking this morning that like during the summer, typically mine's at like 6 or 6:30 instead of 5 because my evenings are much later during the summer. And instead of trying to force myself to be like, okay, well, I know I'm going to bed at 11:30 tonight. I got to get up at 5. I will fall apart if I don't get enough sleep. I am a miserable human being without enough sleep. That has changed as I've gotten older. I used to be able to run off like 3 or 4 hours, and that will never happen again. There's a reason we don't have kids, because I cannot do that. I know this about myself. So be a little bit generous with yourself too, because you're never going to make it a practice if you can't give the fullness of yourself to it. So at 5 a.m., try it. If it works for you, it works for me most of the year. But when it doesn't, don't beat yourself up about it. If it means you get up at 6:30 and you still do the full savers, which we'll get to all the parts, I promise. But if you wake up at 6:30, you still do the full process, you're still being intentional with time with yourself. And that's what the key of this is making sure that you have that space to give your own self the support that you need throughout the day. So affirmations are key. Now remember, affirmations are going to be I am statements, not I will, not I could or I want. They are present. I am or I do currently. One of the ones that I love is I love that I love what I love, which is a nice one because that's not really real estate related, but I'm a huge nerd, like huge. And that used to be a thing I was ashamed of, and then I realized it's a superpower. And that's the thing with these affirmations, reminding yourself that like the things that make you unique and special are things to celebrate. And those can be included in your affirmations. So we've done our silence, we've done our affirmations, moving to V, which is visualization. This one is the one I have always struggled with more than any, full transparency, because it's still, I do it, but I've always felt a little hokey to me, to be honest with you. But taking a minute, 2 minutes to visualize the course of your day, thinking through the things that are on your calendar, the people that you know you're going to meet, the things you know you need to get done, and visualizing the very best outcome of each of those things. So taking that, it's hard for me because my days shift and change so much despite my relatively good time blocking that I get lost in the muck sometimes trying to visualize my day. So think about those high points, the big things that you know throughout the day are going to happen. Visualize how you want them to go at the very best, how you can see them turning out. You have a listing appointment. Visualize it. You meet them, you walk through, you sign a listing right there. So go at it in that direction. Is it always going to pan out? No, but you're going to be in a better mindset going in, assuming the positive trajectory of everything. Takes a minute, maybe 2 minutes in this process. Just visualize your day. That's an E. Exercise. My nemesis. And yet, still a thing that I do. But exercise can be a scary word because not everyone moves their bodies in the same way. Not everyone's bodies can move in the same way. But what it really means is just movement, intentional movement. It might be going for a 20-minute walk, a 10-minute walk. It might be getting on the treadmill for 10 minutes. It might be lifting some weights. It might be yoga. It might be just going up and down the stairs in your house a few times. Whatever you need to do to get your body moving, there's no time limit for it. If it's 30 seconds or half an hour, all of that is valid. So it is simply moving your body in the morning to get it warmed up, to get it functioning, because that's also going to help you think throughout the day, having that little bit of movement. And what you'll find over time is, let's say you're starting with a minute of going up and down your stairs in your house. Well, over time, you're going to be like, I can actually do more than this now. And you're going to add something to it. It's going to shift and change. But what you'll find is as long as you're consistently getting that movement in the morning as part of this practice, it's preparing not just your mind, but your body for the day as well. Does that make sense? Not everyone's going to be doing marathons. The last time I ran in a race was a 5K in 2018, and I got proposed to at the end of it. And I thought, yeah, but then I'm never going to run a race again. It will never be that good at the end. There's never going to be a reward for running better than getting an engagement ring. So
That's a great excuse not to run.
I mean, I'm just there will never ever be something that good at the end of a race. So
you run a 10K.
Well, I'm not gonna get. I'm not.
You're gonna change the world.
I'm already married. I'm not gonna have another one. So there's literally never gonna be a reward better than that at the end of a race. But
maybe a puppy. You don't know.
Oh God, that's so much responsibility. Remember the no kids thing? Puppies are even worse. Kids can eventually take care of themselves. I have cats because cats do not care and they take care of themselves. Anyway, as back to it. But I love to lift. Like I like lifting weights. I've discovered that about myself. And so like having like a 15-minute just session of lifting in the morning, not even a long one, just makes me feel like I have momentum for the day. Yeah, it gives that momentum for the day. After exercise, we have R, which is reading. Pretty straightforward. You can read whatever you want, but I always think it is good to have something that is either not necessarily business related or real estate related, but the mindset of business, the mindset of real estate, something that's going to give you trajectory and direction. It can be as simple as a chapter in the MRA. Like you don't have to overthink it. Just something to get your mind working and engaged with your day. It could be a self-help book. It doesn't have to be real estate. It doesn't have to be business. It could be, maybe if you come from a faith background of some kind, from an author that you like and that. It can be just something that gets your mind engaged with someone else's thoughts. Does that make sense?
I read Frank's autobiography to go on.
I mean, it's a picture book. So,
Still
that's fair. That's fair. You got me there. It is still a book. Yes.
Question then. So, the question is, when you say reading, that includes you picking up a book and thumbing through it, not an audio book, right?
So here's where I differ from the book itself. If audiobook is the best way for you to engage in reading, if it is the thing that if picking up a book is daunting to you and sitting and reading a chapter in a book is going to keep you from doing what you need to do for reading in the morning, listen to the audiobook. Listen to the podcast. Whatever it takes to get your mind engaged with that. I am not dogmatic about this. I am not the author of The Miracle Morning. If an audiobook is the best way for you to engage with it, listen to an audiobook. That's my thing. I'm a big fan of reading because I also feel like with the reading of a physical book, you can also be really intentional, like, I'm going to read a page. You don't have to commit to a full chapter as long as you're engaging your brain that way. So that's my general, like, I would go for the physical book, but if that's a thing that's going to hold you back from doing it, audiobook is totally fine. Adapt for what works best for your life.
Found two that worked for me. I hate reading books just because I started going a different way after one page.
Yeah.
So I'm big into audiobooks, but what I started doing is I got a daily, it's a one page every day. It's something, right now I have John Maxwell's that I'm reading.
Okay.
And every day it's just one simple page.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I still listen to my audiobook. Something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think we have this idea of like, if you don't read the entire book, you have failed somehow. But if you read a chapter of the book, or like, and it takes you a week and you're reading a page at a time, you're like, this isn't serving me. Move on. Yeah. That's a whole other conversation. If you don't like the book, stop reading the book. Move on. If it's not serving you, move on. But again, the reading it's less about comprehension and more about bringing new ideas into your day, getting you thinking about things outside of yourself in that period. You're still serving yourself. It's still selfish because you're choosing what you're reading and you're choosing what you get from it, but it helps you begin to interact with other ideas for the course of your day as well. And a lot of times in this morning period, because you don't have all the other noise, you're going to get more out of it because of the focus in that moment. So you may only read a page, but you're going to get more out of that page than if you read a whole chapter in the afternoon. Does that make sense? And then the last one is S. Scribing. It's just journaling, y'all. Just journaling, but the S, you can't have saverage. So savers for scribing. Journaling, it's funny. I had a member on my team for several years. She just retired for the second time. Sunny, 85-year-old realtor. It was her like 18th, 19th, 20th career. She's an absolute force of nature. Oh my God. Sunny Payne is everything. But anyway, I taught this class a couple years ago and she was like, I hate to journal. I hate to do it. I hate to reflect back on stuff I don't know about it. I'm like, I get it. One page a day. Little tiny journal. Get one of those little baby like moleskin journals. That's what I used to use before my giant red book. I had one of the little tiny ones. Just do one little page in your journal. It doesn't have to be about anything. You can just be like, I hated waking up this morning. Everything is terrible, and I don't want to do work. But
Are you reading that? Those are all the pages.
and you know what? You get it out of yourself. That's not bouncing around in your head anymore. And it gives you so much more ability to be able to actually function during the day because you've actually put words to it. It's like, I hate being awake right now. It's too cold. It's too dark. My tea was bitter. Like, some of my journal entries are not pleasant to read. I will flip back, especially during like drier seasons of my real estate career, and I'm like, wow, what have I done with my life? What is going on? Why am I here? What's going like just miserable. And then like 2 pages later, it's like, oh my God, I just got the biggest listing of my life. So it's like it's gonna be some real estate stuff, but it's also just like check in on your life. It's so fun for me now that I've been doing this pretty consistently since 2018. I can flip back and look into all the I used to use, like I said, the little moleskin journals, and I have like 8 or 9 of them full now. And so I can go back and pull off the shelf and be like, how was I doing 3 years ago about this time? And just the growth that you will see in yourself, but also the camaraderie with your past self. Because if you're having a bad day and you go and read, like, okay, yeah, 3-4 years ago, I was also having a really bad day, but I'm still here doing it, is actually shockingly refreshing. Like, it will make you feel better than you think it will. You think that you'll read that and be like, it's just always been terrible. But you're like, no, I've had these moments before and I'm still here. And you have that record of it. So for my journal, I write out my affirmations every day, and then I write my journaling every day in the same place. So I'll just write the affirmations and do the journal next to it, just so it's all there together. Some days I'll write a half a page. Some days I have like 4 pages of journaling. It just depends on the day. There's no right or wrong with that. The point, again, you're engaging with your own thoughts. You're spending time with yourself and reflecting.
And you're doing the journal in the morning.
I am. I'm doing morning journaling. I journal some in the afternoons and evenings, but my morning journal is reflection on yesterday, reflection on how I'm feeling today, what's going on. Sometimes I will have had a real crap day the day before. I'll wake up the next day and be like, okay, I feel a little better, but I still I got to reflect on why yesterday was so bad. And it just gives you that space to do that without judgment, without anyone else having to know there's stuff in my journals that like after I'm dead and gone, people can read, but like right now, no, and because it's my again selfish safe space for me.
So I know we're talking about the miracle morning.
Yeah.
But I find that journaling in the evening. So I have a problem sometimes. Most of it is I'm falling asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So if I journal at night, and it's not. Is it still considered journaling if you're just like writing down like just random thoughts? It's like it's not a story or anything.
Yeah, no. In fact, the random thoughts I think are more journaling than trying to be like, let me tell you about everything in my day. Like I think it's like your journal, your diary, whatever you want to call it. That's your safest space to get all the stuff bouncing around your head out.
So that's why at night, all the things, because what'll happen is I'll lay down and go to sleep,
Yep.
turn on TV and everything, and all these thoughts about everything are just popping up. So then I started just writing it down. And it makes it so much easier
to fall
for me to
asleep.
fall asleep.
Yeah, absolutely. That's 2 different styles of journaling, though. At the end of the day, because I'm very similar in that, I don't write it as much. I have, psychologists may study this, I don't know. I call it my little red box. It's in my brain, and when I'm like going to bed, I put all the stuff into it and close the lid, just mentally. I'm like, all this stuff is going in here so I can go to sleep. I'll open it again in the morning. But writing it down is very helpful. The morning journaling is less about, I need to get all this stuff out. It's more about processing all the things that you want to get out. So it's like, okay, journal in the evening, write all the stuff down. In the morning, look at it and be like, why am I feeling about these things these ways? And that way you're more prepared going into your day when you encounter those things again, because most of the things probably aren't done.
Most of
but the next day it's going to come up probably. You're going to think about it. And if you've taken a little bit of time, a minute, 2 minutes, just to reflect on it and journal on that, you will feel much more prepared to deal with the rest of the things throughout the day. And you might even find that your night journaling gets less aggressive too. If you're taking that time in the morning to process all of that, at least that's what I have found doing that as well. And if you wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't know what to write about, just write about what you just read. Just respond, just be like, here's what I read this morning and here's what I thought about it. 5 sentences, 6 sentences. It doesn't have to be pages and pages. Again, the point is not there's the perfect way to do it. It's you're trying to just practice each day doing the process too.
One thing I do at night that it's not is I end my night every night with what was the best thing that happened to you today.
Yeah.
And so far right now I can guarantee it's gonna say Dan's comments.
Thanks.
And nothing great happens to say.
Hey, there's still time. There's still time though, and I won't be offended if something better. But
If I win the lottery, then I'm texting you and be like, sorry, you're out, buddy.
and I'll take my feet.
But no, I think it's a great way to end it.
It is, absolutely.
Someone on your screen is really trying to get your.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Hi, Yasmin. What's up?
Quick question. With the journal, right? Do you have different journals? Like, do you have a morning journal and a night journal, or do you like have the same journal and maybe split it?
Great question. All of the above. I have changed that over time to be different things depending on where I am in the moment. So like right now, I'll show you on the video here. I have this red journal that I recently switched to. It's like a bigger one. And so I do all of my affirmations, all my journaling morning and night is all in here. Previous to having this, like I was talking about the little moleskin journals, I thought I had them in my bag, but I cleaned out my backpack, so I don't know where anything is now. But I had little journals that were just my morning, and I kept it just on the table where I did my morning stuff. So it kind of depends on what your practice is, what your system is. You know, if you want it to all be in one place, keep it all in one place. If you feel like having a dedicated journal just for the morning is going to be useful for you, just have a dedicated journal. There's no, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You have another question?
Yeah, I do have.
Okay.
This program basically.
Yeah.
Do you try to do that in a time block space where you say, okay, I'm going to do all of this within an hour or 2 hours?
I do. Yeah. So I'm a big time blocker. I believe in time blocking. I, live by the rule if you erase, replace. So I live by it. So it is time blocked on my calendar for my miracle morning. Now I give myself from 5 until 7 or 7:30 to do the whole thing, because sometimes my workouts are me lifting and having to lay there for 5 minutes before I do the next thing. So I give myself enough time and space for that. Do I finish early sometimes? Absolutely. But I give myself that amount of blocked out time in the morning to dedicate to the miracle morning.
Do you include time for breakfast? Because one of you said
Yeah.
journaling that your tea is bitter, so you must be drinking tea.
I do. I drink tea I also, a little background before I was in real estate, I worked in the specialty tea industry for 10 years. So I'm kind of a tea snob. And I have literally an entire cabinet, multiple water boilers, the whole thing. So it's ritual. It's part of my ritual. So I don't typically eat breakfast until after I do my miracle morning, but I absolutely have my tea. So.
And you also have a podcast called.
Oh, I do. I have a podcast called Real Tea with Dan Ritter. So my new podcast, that's real tea, like real estate, but also tea and life and spilling the tea, that kind of stuff.
So you're gonna come back on the second one and give us tea.
I almost brought tea, and I was like, let's go a little lighter this first time, but next time I'll really geek out about it. But yeah, so that's part of my ritual though. It's something I have built into my miracle morning. It's not one of the letters, but for me, it's part of the practice. It's taking that time. But no, typically my other morning things like shower, breakfast, whatever happen after my miracle. Yeah, great question though. But again, if your reading time is better served with you eating breakfast while you're reading, do it. That's the thing. You can adapt it to make sense for your life and what works best for you. Too.
Sounds like it's very adaptive.
It is. It absolutely is. You also don't have to do it in the order of the savers. We have it listed out like that because it helps you remember all the pieces. But I almost always, exercise at the very end. I will do SAVRS and then I'll do my workout. Just because if I do my workout afterward, the likelihood of me sitting back down and reading and journaling is very low. So make it make sense for you. Sometimes my silence and my visualization happen at the same time.
I was gonna say, I always listen to audio.
Yeah. And that may be your reading, while you do your walking, so some of it can overlap. The important thing is being intentional about each part happening.
So my biggest problem is the actual getting up.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, like, I have all in my head that, all right, I'm gonna, I have something at 8 o'clock. Dan's like,
I
don't
am
sign
gonna
up.
get
It's 5 o'clock, I'm gonna get up, and I hit snooze,
Yeah.
snooze.
I have a fix for that because that is literally,
That's my wife.
I will
It's like 8
snooze.
times, like,
Well, I do it too. Thank God my
Yeah.
husband is a very.
I will snooze and absolutely snooze until I should have just set an alarm for an hour later.
Yeah.
I plug my phone into my bathroom and then I have my alarm go off, so I have to get out of bed to turn it off.
yeah, I do. That's a great hack.
I have an Alexa, and I have it in my bathroom for that reason. So I have, what's his name? The country singer guy with the deep voice.
Jeff Turner.
No, married to Miranda Lambert. Used to be.
Oh.
Blake Shelton.
Blake Shelton.
Yes. So it's an alarm of him saying, basically, now listen to this. He says, by the time you hear this, I've already done a whole day's work. Get your lazy butt up. And I hear that playing over and over. And I
to turn it off?
I can't turn it off from my bed. I mean, I could if I went and
You
grabbed
could
my
yell
phone.
or
And if I yell, it's not.
with Alexa.
With
Yeah.
Alexa, so I have to get up, physically get up, and go
And
into
turn it
my
off.
bathroom.
Yep.
And it just gets louder and louder as it progresses. Like, oh my.
That's why.
gosh.
So I plug my phone in my bathroom so that when it goes off, I don't have an option. I have to get physically out of bed to turn it off, because if it's next to my bed, because it also helps me at night, because my phone is plugged in next to my bed. Once the lights are off, I'll pick it up if something comes to my mind. If it's not next to the bed, I'm more likely to go to sleep easier too. So that's my big one, because it is hard. It is very hard to do the morning. But if you have to physically move your body, even just standing up out of bed is sometimes enough to get you like, okay, well, I'm already standing. I might as well do the things. So the savers, they can be blended together depending on what works for you, but the point is to be intentional with each one of those pieces.
Do you do it on the weekends as well?
I do not in the same way. So Saturdays and Sundays, I do not get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I was also
Absolutely
that's
not.
crazy.
No, will not, will never, is not my thing.
I feel like we definitely have lost.
Yeah. But I still do a lot of the pieces of the Miracle Morning on Saturday and Sunday. I just don't necessarily do them in the same way. I don't always sit down and write out my affirmations, but I look at my affirmations. I journal a little bit when I'm having my morning tea. I'll have my little quiet time with myself. And then I will intentionally make sure I exercise in some way in the morning. I'm not lifting, but I might, there's a little French coffee pastry shop about 3 blocks from our house in the city. So Saturday mornings, we get up and we'll walk over to that and do our breakfast and sit outside and then walk around the city a little bit. But I make sure I have some of my movement mornings those days. But no, the Miracle Morning book will tell you, do it every 7 day of the week. And Dan Ritter is saying, no. If you want to affirm it in you, if that is what you want to do, it does not serve me to do that. So it just.
Yeah, if it doesn't serve you, then
don't do it.
Don't do it.
That's the thing. That's the thing that I have come to understand with it.
Well, if you look at it, if you do 5 out of 7, that's better than 0 out of 7.
Exactly. But doing 7 out of 7 is even better.
Yeah.
And doing 7 out of 7 is even better. Sorry, my little bold. We don't say but. Which, by the way, as an aside, if you've never done bold, when you have an opportunity, it's
October.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really like I'm kind of known for having all the branded swag stuff. Like even my mug is like KW. Like all of it. But I'm also like very skeptical of drinking Kool-Aid. So I'm like, I did bold, but I went into it being like a little rah-rah system, and then it changed my life. So I'm kind of a cheerleader for that
You
now
don't
too.
drink the Kool-Aid, you drink the tea.
Do you know what Doge is?
I do. Jerry freaking well.
He was here.
That's okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Jerry's the best person I know.
did we change your life?
Yes. The instructor's key. I had a phenomenal instructor. The instructor we have.
Was that was
We
my
did-
first one? 100%.
So
I made
the instructor we had last year was incredible, which is why he and I just really jive. Jerry. I mean, there aren't words. So
just that 5 minutes we have for
Yeah, Jerry is absolutely incredible. So anyway, that's my little plug for bold. But The other thing I want to chat about, because we have a few minutes left, kind of pivoting from the morning practice, but this is kind of a weekly, monthly, and yearly practice, this next piece. So it's called W137. And this is directly from my mastery coach, Kristen Cronin, who is amazing, is on my podcast.
137.
W137. So here's what it is. W stands for Wednesday. It doesn't have to be Wednesday, but it just helps. One day off, or sorry, one not day. Wellness Wednesday. I take an hour to 2 hours any day of the week, but Wednesday tends to be a good day for folks. And you do something not work related that is self-care. That's anything from a massage, pedicure, going to see a movie, driving range, something that is not your work, that is self-care for you. So it will be completely unique to each person. It can be Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever day of the week. But we just say Wednesday because it's convenient. One. The one stands for one day off a week. No work. That's hard.
One day with no work?
Uh-huh. I'm not saying it's easy. And if you're like me, you still don't do it very well. You're probably still gonna do a little something one day. But the intention is to work toward a practice where you give yourself one day off a week. Now, for me, currently, with the way my business and life are, I give myself 2 half days a week, and I'm very strict about them. So, except for today. Normally, I take Wednesday half day. Starting at noon, rest of the day, I'm done. No, it's fine. I'll pay myself back another day. But
Can you bank this?
no, you cannot bank them.
Take them.
Yep. Because, again, I said at the beginning, you cannot pour out of an empty cup.
No.
Cup is not full. There is nothing for you to give, and you will just burn yourself out. As a frequently burned out person and agent, I have learned over the last couple of years through that burnout, you have to build the time in because you cannot give to other people.
You need to be very literal right now because just because you're not out on shelves, you have to shut your phone off.
Yes.
You can't answer text messages.
Yes.
You can't answer emails.
And that goes back to setting the expectation with clients too.
Yeah.
You know, which is a whole other class we can have a conversation with.
You don't take that day off just yourself, dude. Like, I mean, well, yeah, but like, it's not like for example, you and your husband, I think,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
like stuff like
whatever
that.
you want with it.
Okay.
It can be whatever it's your day off. Yeah, it's just not working.
That's
You
right.
know?
It's just not always.
Yeah,
made.
it's not, and this is different from the Miracle Morning. The Miracle Morning is selfish. The one W137 is life. So there may be other people involved in it.
Spending a couple hours.
Absolutely.
Crazy on Friday. Fringe.
Well, and one little tool I'll give you for that too, because there's the next ones are even more extreme. So be ready. But a conversation that I have with clients, and the way I frame it, and I learned to frame it is, when I'm having an initial client conversation, I will say, everyone has boundaries. One of my boundaries is that on X day every week I am off. And I would love to know what your boundaries are. Are there any time or other boundaries I should be aware of? Because then you're setting the expectation up front, but you're doing it in a way that is like, see, everyone can self-care. Exactly.
Goes along.
It does. Now, do I always do it 100%? No, I am not perfect. No, it seems like it, but I'm not perfect. But having that day off has really changed my perspective too, because you realize there's no actual emergencies in real estate. There's urgencies, but there's no emergencies, you know? So 1 day off a week. 3. All right, moving on to the next number. This is the tough one. 1 3-day weekend a month.
That's easy.
1 3-day weekend a month.
Especially in August.
Yes. Not as easy during April. And yeah, 1 3-day weekend a month. Now, are you going to maybe have to do a little phone or text or something on that 3-day weekend? Yes, that is our life. That is who we are. And you're still being intentional about how you spend that weekend.
But does it have to be separate from your 1 day off?
Yes, it does have to be separate from your 1 day off.
Spicy.
I know. This is where intentionality becomes really scary because we're bad at this. Because again, in our mind, we're always thinking, well, if I'm not working, I'm not making money, which is true. And yet, if you're working too much, you're probably making less money than you could be.
Yes.
You've got to have the balance. And then 7. That is 1 week off a quarter or trimester. So that's 3 to 4 full weeks off a year. Now, when we do business planning for next year, we look at that. We look at how many days we intend to work for the year. And we base all of our practices, prospecting, client work on that. So if you know you're taking 3 to 4 weeks plus your 1 day, you build out and you know how many days you're going to work for the year, it's a lot easier to business plan around that if you're intentional about setting that up. But that's one Wellness Wednesday, so 1 or 2 hours, 1 day a week, self-care. That is selfish. That 1 or 2 hours, that is selfish, just like your morning miracle morning. But your one day a week, your 3-day weekend a month, and your 1 week a quarter, that can be shared. That might be vacation with friends, that might be a long weekend with a spouse, it might be, who knows, any number of things. But again, you're building it into your business plan too, so that you don't have to feel guilt about it. You don't have to feel stress about it. And you can literally say to yourself and your clients and the people that you work with and your family, hey, I'm off on these days. I am off. So let's do what we would do for a day off. And that's hard for realtors. It's hard for me. I am bad at it. It is a practice I am working on incorporating into my business day by day, week by week. The hardest part of that is the banking, because you think, oh, well, if I have 2 solid weeks where I'm just working, I can have like my 4 or 5 days off. But by the time you get to those 4 or 5 days off, you can't even enjoy them, And I don't know about y'all, but I got into real estate because I wanted to have control of my destiny. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to have ownership of what I did. And if I'm not giving myself that time, I'm being a bad boss. I'm being the worst kind of boss that I used to work for. And I don't want to be that person to myself because I have the power not to be. And so this structure that my coach passed on to me is both terrifying and super helpful at the same time, because it's hard to do, but not if you're being intentional. And that's the hard part, is being intentional with it. One thing that I have gotten better at over the years is paying myself back for time. So, I'll meet with clients over Zoom at like 7 at night, like that'll happen. But if that's the case, I'm giving myself that hour back during the day the next day. I'm going to say, look, I did that work and it was great and I was willing to do it, but I'm going to tack an extra hour to my day, or I know that on Saturday I'm going to be showing houses all day long. I have clients in from out of town or something, I'm going to be going from 9 till 5. Well, then I'm giving myself Monday off, like I'm going to pay my time back for that work. And the more you do that, the more you get in the practice of that, the less likely burnout comes from it. And you're partnering that with the Miracle Morning. See, brought that around. You're starting your day with more energy, with more vitality, with more intentionality, so that you feel empowered in yourself to give yourself that time. You don't have to. So if you're doing all the other stuff for your self-care and for your morning routine and all these things, when it comes time to give yourself time back, there's no guilt involved in that, because you have intentionally put yourself in a place where you're thinking about your mental health, you're thinking about your personal relationships, your selfish me time as well. And it becomes much easier to give it back to yourself when you're doing it with consistency and intentionality.
Can I validate what you just said?
Yeah, go for it.
So when I became a realtor, this is my income goal, right? How am I going to achieve it? And how am I going to be present, available, husband, father to my kids, right? So I think most of you heard me say this. I didn't work nights or weekends. I stopped at 5:30 unless it was Thursday and I wanted to go out and basically contribute and get back to the agents in our office that are having brokers opens. Brokers opens a huge community for us.
Yeah.
But you also set discipline and boundaries with your clients that you're not talking to them after 5:30, right? and that you can talk to you every day between 1 to 3 o'clock or set times. Once they realize that you are very serious about your business, your vibe, your tribe, I fully believe in that.
Mhm.
So if you did the math with basically what you did and what I did, and I took full weeks and
Yeah.
I took long weekends and stuff like that, I bet you the math is very similar.
Yeah.
Like very similar on days off, working on yourself, working, being present, available to the people that love you and who depend on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge validation on it, and I appreciate the empowerment.
Just real quick, I want to just give us a little reminder. We're a couple minutes
Yep.
before 2 o'clock. So.
Yep. Appreciate it. And I think the last piece of that too is the thing that's really hard for us. Well, yeah. Hang on, be ready. No. If you have your day off and you do nothing, that's okay.
Yeah.
We have gotten to this place where we think that when we have time off, we have to fill it with other things that are, but like sometimes on my day off, my husband and I will sit on our couch and play PlayStation for 9 hours. And it's amazing. And that's totally legitimate and okay to do. Whatever that looks like in your life, like it's okay to slow down because we go so fast. So building those days in, even if you do nothing, that's not a fail. So hopefully this has been very helpful for everyone.
Absolutely.
I have my card. If anyone has questions about it further, feel free to reach out.